Hello, everybody. The fade out. The analog fade out. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Tech Talk Live. Here I am, Blake Angelos from Yamaha Synthesizers, here in Bellingham, Washington, where I'm live streaming from. And today, we are going to talk about Smart Morph some more, because Smart Morph is really cool. So let's jump right into it. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of the cool parameters and just kind of deep dive into these Smart Morphs. So let's begin first off just with playing some of them, because they really are pretty cool. I'll start out. I have a live set I've created right here that has some of some of my favorite ones that I've found so far, and we'll talk about the different parameters that are in the Smart Morph menu, this new Smart Morph that's been added, and I'll create a Smart Morph for you, and I'll just show you some of the cool ways that you can use this cool new sound creation technology that was recently added with OS 3.5. First of all, let's go and grab this one here. Dreamy Tin. Let me get to the view. So if you notice that, now we covered this a little bit before, but there are now 3 views of in the main performance area for Smart Morphs. There's your first kind of, the normal view, the original view, I guess what you call it. This was the second view that we added in a subsequent update, and then now with the brand new one, you have the Smart Morph pad directly in the main screen. So you can go through here and move across the Smart Morph pad. So what exactly is going on here? Well, I'm going to go down here. You'll notice that on the left side of the screen, home, motion control, the things that we have had before, well, now we have this new area here that's called Smart Morph. This is just a larger play, the play screen. You can see the stuff that's available to you underneath that Smart Morph area. Play, edit, analyze, super knob, and job. I'll go through each of those parts here. The play screen is exactly that. It's just as where you can access the Smart Morph pad and do these cool morphings things. Very cool. So what's going on with this, by the way? You'll notice that there's both a motion sequence and an arpeggio that's playing in here. So that's part of what's happening here. And this particular Smart Morph actually is more than just a single part, but I'll get into that in a moment. In fact, what I want to do is go back up to the top here. I did have one here that has 2 parts. The first part is the destination part, the target part. That's where the Smart Morph is happening, and we'll get into that in a moment. The other part here is just a pad. I'll go ahead and mute that pad out, so all you hear is just the target part in the Smart Morph. So what's going on here? Well, the story can be found in the screen right here called Edit. Edit shows you what's happening with Smart Morph. What Smart Morph is, it's an FMX only technology. So it's something that's designed to work only within FMX, with the FMX engine. You have these parts here that are parts 9 through 16. These are the extra parts that aren't under keyboard control that we can use for sequencing. Well, these are also the parts where the Smart Morph will be generated. Basically, what's happening here is this is a Smart Morph that has 4 parts, and these parts are kind of the ingredients for the actual Smart Morph. What happens here is it's using a thing called machine learning, a part of AI, artificial intelligence. A self-organizing map actually is specifically what it does. What this does here is it creates a new sound based on the analysis using this machine learning of these parts that are in this area here. This one has 4 parts, up to 9 parts can happen here. So as you can hear, there are these sounds in here that are like pad, choir, chromatic percussion, strings, chromatic percussion. These are the sounds in here. Now you'll notice that there is a white dot right here that, say, like on the strings, that goes up to here. There's a little line that connects this white dot to this strings part. When I touch right here, this is going to sound closest to that part. I'm going to turn off the arpeggio in here. Now, if I go down here, there's one that's pad choir that's all the way down here. If I touch here, and you'll see the blue, that's where I am touching on the screen, this will sound more like this particular sound in here. Now, any part in between here, this is a 32 by 32 matrix in here, any part in between here is where the morphing happens of these sounds. So any part that I touch right here, it basically puts that sound into part 1. That's the part that is being affected by the actual Smart Morph. That's the results of the self-organizing map when it creates this map in here. Now, if, let's say I'm okay with this. If I want a slight variation of this, I can touch Learn. And what Learn does is it runs the AI again. And this is cool. You notice that I can play while the Smart Morph is happening here. So a great thing for live performance. Now it created a new Smart Morph that will be a little different than the last one. Now let's say right here, right there. If I like that sound, all I have to do is hit store, and I can save that. You have up to 128 Smart Morphs that you can create in the user area, plus you have in the 8 libraries, you have 128 locations for these Smart Morph maps that you can freely load, and I'll show you some of that here moving forward here. But check it out. So I like this. All I have to do is just store. It stores the Smart Morph in that location. It's an instant way to create new and interesting Dreamy Tin 2 sounds without really having to get deeply into FM synthesis. It's really cool how this works that way. So actually I'm going to move down here to analyze here so you can see what's happening in here. Basically, there are red, green, and blue. These are just areas where parameters can be set. And then we can take a look at that real quick, and I'll actually show you how you can select your own. Right now, it's automatically choosing parameters based on what the machine learning, what the intelligent algorithm in here, the intelligent mind, I don't know, artificial intelligent machine learning, self-organizing map. It's all part of the same thing. It makes intelligent decisions based on the choices I've made that will create a cool Smart Morph. So in here, you'll see the stuff that can be assigned to each of these areas. Common 1 parameters, common 2 parameters. These are parameters that are common to the entire part, the FMX part that we're looking at here. Common 1, common 2. All sorts of stuff in there. Algorithm, this is a huge thing. It does algorithm switching, which really can drastically change the sound. But you can also do more subtle ones inside the operator area. These are all the same, 1 through 8, all of these parameters. You could do something like operator level, and it would be maybe a little bit more of a subtle kind of a change. But again, inside this area here, as long as I have it under auto, the AI is going to make that decision. So I just ran it again, and again, I love this about it, that you can play while it does its thing. Pretty cool. So now I have a new one here. You notice that any of those parameters I changed over here, well, they were chosen by the AI in this case. Now I'll come back to the coloring here where you have auto and manual in a moment when we create one from scratch. I want to move on. I want to show you some other things that are cool about this. You have a super knob link in here as well. So you can assign any 2 points of the super knob to move. This means that you can automate this. You can maybe run this with a MIDI sequence and control that. So you can do some automation of the Smart Morph movement in here, which is pretty cool. And then I can change on any points. I can always go through here and find some interesting things in here. So let's say I want to move the super knob between these 2 points. Well, I'll go ahead and select one of the start points in here, right? Okay, now I'll take it maybe here. So if I touch when I have a point selected, it will automatically move to wherever I touch as long as I have the super knob area, the super knob parameters selected here. So wherever I touch, it will move based on that parameter pretty easily. So now the super knob will move between these 2 huge points here. Or let's say I want to go up here maybe, right across the top, maybe right here. So that's pretty cool. Now, check this out. Since we're in this super knob area, I can automate that super knob as well using a motion sequence. So right here, I'm on super knob. If I just go over here to motion control and then touch where it says knob auto, well, now here's a place where I can create a motion sequence and automate that super knob movement between those 2 points. In fact, let's do it. I'll turn on super knob into motion sequence. Let's go ahead and sync this to tempo. And now I'm going to touch right here on the Edit Sequence tab, you saw right there, and I can change my, my motion sequence. In fact, let me make this cycle so it's only maybe 8, and I'll change a different pulse here. How about just the hold pulse? Increase the amplitude so it gives it a whole lot of it. Now, I have to turn on the motion sequence here in a moment, and you'll see this all happen, but let me use the knobs here. If you didn't know this, on Montage and MODX, and by the way, everything you're seeing here you can do on a MODX as well. You can use the 4 faders on a MODX or all 8 to set this motion sequence in kind of an interesting way. How about we do one of these things so you can hear it here. Going back one, it's kind of fast. How about we take the unit multiply, so we'll make it play 4 times slower, or 2 times slower maybe. Let's change out the pulse here to something like a square pulse. Move this a little bit over. Pretty cool. So you can automate the super knob with a motion sequence by doing what I just did right there. Pretty slick. Again, all part of the Smart Morph parameters that you can assign in here. Now, I'm going to go up here to one more level again. In fact, let's go back to my live set. And let me show you how to actually create your own Smart Morph. I like to use the Init Normal FMX to do this. And the reason why is because it just gives you a basic FM sound, and I'll select the part here, that is algorithm 1, which is all carriers, and only the first operator's up, so it's just a sine wave. Now let's see what you can do with a Smart Morph to create something new here. I will go down here to back one, and we'll go to the Smart Morph edit page. Now I want to show you a couple of things here. When I select these, I want to select single parts. You can select them from here, and you do have a way to do this where I touch on part 9, and I can see that single parts are in green here. But let's say I want to look at just single parts. Well, when you're in this area, you don't really have that capability to just kind of only see single parts. And even if I selected a multi-part, like this one here, I can tell you that it's only going to select the first part of the multi-part performance. But let's take a look at a different way to load sounds in here if I want to do this. I can always go up to the main performance area here and make my view maybe like this, so I can just see parts 9 through 12 here. Now, if I select category search here, I have the larger category search view here. So if I want to just look at attribute single parts, and I want to maybe select, let's see here, or if I want to go to, let's go single parts, strings, I want to look at my FM experience bank maybe. So now I'm looking at just single parts in here. So I'll grab something like fuzzy spheres, okay? Or I can add something like another pad sound. And now I'm only seeing single parts, and I'm only looking in an FM bank right now. Endless loop. Let's try that one. And we'll do a pad sound. How about FM vintage strings? So another way to kind of find the parts that you want to use in the Smart Morph. Another thing that I can do, by the way, is I can also look at this, and if I want to get a single part from, I'll add maybe on part, hold on, oops. Let's go over here to 13 through 16. If I look at multi-parts, so I'll look at all here, and I know that the part that I want is part 3 of this sound here, I can do it that way too. So if you go through and you want to kind of find what things you want to put together, you can look in this way to pull a single part from a multi-part performance as well. In this case, we'll just go with these 4 here. So I'll go back to my Smart Morph here, and I have my sounds chosen here. And I'll just hit learn, and let's see what we make just using that init FM sound real quick here. And by the way, remember I can still play. Okay, here's my new Smart Morph. That's pretty cool. Okay, if I don't like it, again, I can hit again, try another Smart Morph. And a new Smart Morph. Now again, this is using the init FM patch, I don't have, or a part, I don't have any effects already assigned to it. Now I can do something else here. Let's say I want to, in fact, let me just try that. Let's say I want to, in part 1, which is the target part, I want to add a different part, select a totally different part. In this case, I'll look at all my parts in here, and let's take a look. What do I want to use here? How about, actually, I have one already set for you here. This is one called FM Spiral Distortion. This is a single part performance that actually uses the spiralizer effect on here. So what happens if I do a Smart Morph on a sound that's already in here? Well, it will carry those common parameters. The things like the insertion effects, they will still be retained. The super knob control over that part, they will still be retained. But now I add the Smart Morph to that. It's pretty cool. So you still have some of the parameters in there, but then you have these new parameters. Remember that Smart Morph only is editing FMX parameters. It's not going to grab any effects. It won't grab already preset superknob assignments or anything. But what it will do is it will create something, pretty cool. Another thing that I can do is, let's say I want to run a Smart Morph from another performance that's in here. I can go in here to Job and go to Load Smart Morph. You have preset Smart Morph. So let's say I want to add the one from maybe CompuSci. That was a pretty cool one. So I can load that Smart Morph in, like I did, and I can take a look at the sounds. Now this is a full 16-part Smart Morph. Now again, you're hearing the sound, the FM spiral distortion sound that's in part 1. But if I hit Learn, it will create a Smart Morph and change all of those FMX parameters. You still get the common effect settings and some of the other things that are there, but now you've added this additional Smart Morph capability. And again, you can still play while this is happening, so it's great for real time. Here's my new Smart Morph. That's pretty cool. You hear that flangey, weird, that's such a cool sound. I love the spiralizer effect. So what did I just do? Let's go back. One more thing here just to show you. Again, in this job area, you can select, you can load a Smart Morph. You can delete the Smart Morph if you want to. Now check this out. I can also delete parts 9 through 16. Now what happens when I do that is I get seamless sound switching back, and you see SSS back. If I look at a Smart Morph sound, it doesn't have seamless sound switching because parts 9 through 16 are being used, and that effectively sort of eliminates Smart Morph, or rather seamless sound switching. But I can delete those parts, and check it out. What does that mean, though? Does it mean that I still have a Smart Morph? I do. I do still have the ability to do. But what I can't do is I can't reanalyze. There's no more parts in there. Now, the last thing I'll show you here in the job area, if I delete the entire Smart Morph, it'll get rid of what was in there, and now I have a blank Smart Morph to start over again. But I can always keep the results of the sound. You just can't do any morphing anymore. But what I can do here is I can create my own Smart Morph again. So I can go over here and maybe, well, let's find out if I use a few different sounds here and create something different. Still using that FM spiral distortion as the target. Let's go to something like Spacey FMX drops, and let's do FM warm brass. Learn. So we'll try another one. I'm playing the FM warm brass sound there. Almost, and here's a new. Cool. That is cool. Again, it's so cool to have this technology. If you don't know a lot about FM synthesis, it's easy to create new sounds. If you do know something about FM synthesis, I'll show you one last thing I want to is when I'm in the Smart Morph area, we'll go back to my FM initialized sound here. And this time, when I go to edit, I'll select some Smart Morph parts here, do the same kind of thing here. Select one from here. We'll do one from the FM brass. We'll select something like a musical effect of some type, like piano drops. And how about some sort of a cool FM square bell pad? Okay. Now, I showed you before you had auto, but there's also manual. So what manual coloring means is that I have control over the parameters that I select here. Now, if you select something like, I said this before, but something like algorithm, that's a big one. That changes the arrangements of the operators. Different arrangements are better for different sounds. You have some that are like that don't have a lot of modulators, so they're generally very like algorithm 1, for example, all sine waves, all carriers. But if you have stuff that have stack modulators, those can really change the sound. So having algorithm switching in here can be a potentially very, very dramatic change to the sound. Or I can select, how about we go to operator 1 and we'll do coarse frequency. So that's changed. That's going to be pretty radical as well. The thing that's cool about this, if you do know something about the sounds that you chose, do one more here in level. If you do know something about the sounds that you chose, and you know that, for example, operator 2 is a modulator in most of the sounds that you chose, or all the sounds that you chose, you can select something like level, and that will really change sound. You have a little bit of control there if you kind of just think about the choices that you make, and then you go into this manual here, or you can just try things out if you want and see what happens. So now I'm creating a new Smart Morph, but I use that manual setting. I love, again, that you can play while this is happening. So it's pretty cool for... See, that's going to be pretty radical. In fact, check this out. If I go back here to my init normal sound, which is here, right? And you see the... Oh, I should do one more thing. I want you to see that page when I come back here. I'm going to assign some super knob control on this. Let's set a part here, and let's set one down here. Now go back home, get that second view here, just here, and select the part. See the algorithm switching? And feedback is changing there too. That's pretty cool. That's cool. Again, if I like that, save it. I have a new sound. Very cool. Really fun to experiment with this new FMX sound shaping technology that was added in OS version 3.5. So that's a brief tour. I want to talk about a few other things before I go here, and I have a few Qualtrics questions that I'd like to answer as well. Speaking of Qualtrics, this is the link. It is in the description. What we like to do is we have this survey up. That's the link. You can ask a question, and we'll try and answer them during our Tech Talk Lives. That's it. Link in the description there. That's the Qualtrics survey. YamahaSynth.com. Well, everything Yamaha Synth. Tons and tons and tons of articles up there. Don't forget to go there if you want to learn more about Smart Morph. There's a whole article up there, a few videos as well, and then all of the videos from last week's worldwide kind of event that we had. Check it out, all up on YamahaSynth.com. Soundmondo is our social sound sharing site. Supports Reface, Montage, MODX, CP, YC. Over 65,000 sounds up there right now, including a bunch of cool ones. There's some from, for example, Richard Devine. Added 8 of them last week that are all Smart Morph sounds that you can download and get for free. If you have an idea for a Yamaha synthesizer, and I see sometimes that people come up here and throw some ideas out, well, join our Idea Scale forum and put your idea up there. We do look at these. This is a cool crowdsourcing forum that we will accept any of your ideas, take a look at them, and make sure that our developers see what you're asking for. The music production guide, this is the link for that. This is done by Easy Sounds. If you saw the earlier Tech Talk Live, Hans-Peter Hinkel was up here. He writes a lot of the articles in the music production guide. If you go there to the link, you'll be able to have access to 10 years, I think, of music production guides. So pretty cool. Make sure that you check out the music production guide. So let's see here. One last thing that I wanted to do here. Hold on. There were a few questions here. Can Can the Smart Morph be combined with AWM2 sounds? Yes, absolutely. If you notice here, since we're in the screen here, let's say I wanted to add a piano to this for some reason. Hey, how about if I just go here and put CFX stage? So now, that's an AWM2 sound that I've added to a Smart Morph. So absolutely, you can combine AWM and FMX sounds. Another thing that you can do, just as a side note, is if you create a Smart Morph and you like the results of that, you can take that sound and move it over to another part. It'll retain that sound. It's no longer Smart Morphing, but the thing that was generated, the sound that was generated from the Smart Morph, can be set to another part that you can control up to 8 of those parts in real time using keyboard control like we have here. So yes, absolutely, you can do that. Let's see. Any plans for Yamaha to make Montage transport buttons available assigned by external DAWs to control DAW functions? Well, yes. There's a whole remote mode at the very bottom that is set up to control DAWs. There are some settings right here where you touch in the settings area on remote, and you can select Cubase, Logic Pro, Pro Tools Live. Let's say you use something like Studio One or something that isn't listed here. I have found that if you set your DAW to Mackie control, because this is very much similar to that same control protocol, you can set up a DAW of a different type that may not be listed here, and it works pretty well because it is kind of a standardized control, but that is how you do it depending on what DAW that you use. So there's a couple of questions answered there. Once again, I'm running out of time here, but this is Blake Angelos from Yamaha US with OS 3.5 Smart Morph. Please make sure you hit us up on Yamaha Synth. If you have any questions, go to the forum. Check out the forum. Lots of talk up there. Bad Mister Phil Clendenin is up there answering questions. Make sure you go there if you have any additional questions or want to check out any of the resources that we have here. I really absolutely appreciate everybody watching today, and I will see you next week on Tech Talk Live. I believe the next one we're going to talk a little bit more. I think it's the pattern sequencer next week. Is that right? I think that's what's happening. Stay tuned for that. Have a good one, everybody. See ya.